All right, so it being on or about 6:30, I call the April 29th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being held remotely. Remote attendance by commissioners shall count towards a quorum. Let's begin with a roll call vote.
Benson present.
Carol present.
Speedy present.
Seeing that we have a quorum, let's begin with our first order of business. 68 North Main Street request for determination of applicability for the installation of a garden.
Coming up now.
Aaron, how are you? Can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Very common. Take your time.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So tell us what the plan is.
So what I have going on out here, if you have the application in front of you, page 10, that's titled Garden Layout, shows pretty much what's existing right now. So you'll see anything marked with a T is a tree, and they're fruit trees. The white outline is the chicken.
So Aaron, can you share your screen?
Oh, I can, absolutely.
That'd be great.
That is easier, isn't it?
Well, I'm scrolling through the binder to try to find what you're looking at.
Is it allowing me right now to present? Do I have authorization for that? Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. You see that okay?
Not yet, but it looks like it's coming up. Yep, we can see it.
So this is part of the one titled Garden Layout. So this is the vernal pool you see titled at the top. That's the northern one in the property. And then to the left, you see the stream. It's very general. I did the best I could there. But that's generally where the stream is that connects to some other vernal pools in the western and southern part of the property. So the area outlined in white, that's where the existing chicken wire fence is. And I have those measurements there indicated for you. The circles there with a T, those are trees that all of these were planted fruit trees, with the exception of the two at the top. Those were existing. Obviously didn't touch those. So those were prior to anything I did out here. And I'm speaking more to the items specific to construction, which we wanted to address today. And then the boxes down at the bottom, these two, those are raised beds. That's all those. So this is the existing right now. Oh, sorry, obviously the bigger one too, the greenhouse, which is an 8x16 right there, just above where those fruit trees are. And that's right along the fence there. Roughly the square footage is about 4,700 square feet, less than a tenth of an acre. And then I'll show you kind of the plan in the future. Going forward, what I was looking to do is to add anything marked with AF here. So these are like brown or orange color outline there. Those are trees that I purchased from the Arbor Foundation, part of their reforestation project. That I'd like to install. Anything with a number designates a fruit tree that I purchased, which is native to the Northeast. Anything with an RB is another raised bed. Obviously, the rows are titled as such. Pumpkin patch up at the top. That's pretty much it. It looks very busy, but anything that's a circle is a tree that I'm looking to plant.
Okay, and is 405A, would that be a fruit tree or a garden bed?
Um,
405, 406?
those are, sorry, those are vines. I just
Okay.
said those are grapevines.
And are those proposed in raised beds as well or on the
No,
ground?
sorry, no.
Okay. How about where's water? Do you have a watering plan?
Yeah, so just south of the vernal pool right now, there's an existing hand pump. And that has a 2-inch line that's connected that connects to the vernal pool.
Okay.
And there's a filter at the edge of that, or at the end of that.
Have you brought any new material into this site?
There was screened loom that I brought in there. I made sure that that was clean, mostly because I didn't want any contaminants with the vegetables that I'm going to be growing. So I made sure that that was all clean. Also, I didn't bring it into this location. It was on the property. At the northern side of my property, there was a tree that fell, and I created all that to be wood chips. And you'll see that covering the southern side. If you were to go look at it right now, there's probably half the square footage in here is now wood chips, just covered, about 3 inches. But that was existing on the property, and that was from a fallen tree.
Okay, so before all this was pre-existing lawn?
It was just everything here was an empty grass lot.
Do you know if it was mowed?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you know if it was mowed?
It was mowed, yep. Actively mowed. I have, if you want to see it, I have Google Maps that shows the existing. I have Google Earth that shows that it's been cut for years. So.
No, I live maybe a mile away from you, probably not even that far, and I drive by pretty frequently, and I have had a hard time as we've been looking at this, just trying to remember what it was like before you were there and what is new and what isn't new. Did you guys install that hand pump, or was that there before you moved in?
I installed that.
Okay.
I installed that at the end of 23.
And was there ever before you were there? Was there a greenhouse back there?
No, there was not.
Right. And then I think, and I could be making this up, you've planted more fruit trees, right? They're below this drawing.
Only the ones in, I'll go back to this one. Only these have been
Understand.
planted. Yeah. And that started back when we moved.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Jennifer, any staff comment here?
Just the concern about the water being taken out of the vernal pool and just making sure fish have not been added to the vernal pool.
No, there are too many hawks around here. Number one, I don't think they'd last very long. So can I just discuss the pump a little bit, if you don't mind?
Please.
So initially, I had planned to bring water in from our house, from the garden hose. Unfortunately, our house is pulling from well 1 in the town, which is contaminated by PFAS. It had elevated levels since we've moved here. Only until the end of 23 did those levels, I don't even know if they're down to acceptable. I test the vernal pool for PFAS and 20 other indicators, lead, copper, anything like that. All those came back negative. I wanted to use the vernal pool water because I didn't want to put PFAS in my plants or anything contaminated. So that was the reason for. Obviously, understand the concern, what the seasonal change with the vernal pool, obviously the endangered species and amphibians in the vernal pool. So I'm sensitive to that. Love to discuss that.
Yeah, I think our concern with pulling water from the vernal pool is exactly what you addressed at the end. I hadn't considered the PFAS. Is well 1 now filtered?
They just installed it December 23. They finished. I don't know if it's now down to acceptable levels. I haven't gotten a letter.
So hopefully that'll be. Look, we can't permit an RDA that allows pulling water from a vernal pool.
And that's one of those things we've talked about. I have no problem pulling. I completely understand. Yep.
Questions, comments from other members of the commission?
No, I just agree, Ben, with the pulling water from the vernal pool. Just at sensitive times.
Yeah, agreed.
Al, anything?
It's on mute. I don't know.
You're on mute. You're still on mute, Al. Sorry. Al, can you hear us?
Sorry.
Good now.
Would it be permittable to take some water out of the stream?
If you're asking me, yeah, it would be, sure. So there's
Okay.
actually the way
Kind
that
of
the
the same
water,
situation where
is it the same?
you're removing water that's going downstream to another vernal pool and removing
Oh,
the
okay.
That's the thing. So
The
the only
hydrology.
stream that actually has water that continues, I don't know if it goes through a vernal pool after my property. I know it cuts under North Main, but it all trickles to a vernal pool. And to be honest with you, we've already talked about, I'm fine with it. The design of my garden is not to use a lot of water. I'm trying to make this a permaculture, so ideally no water needs to be added. I'd rather save my steps to plant stuff. So
I think
that's my goal anyway. So that's fine.
I think overall net change from a lawn to native trees and a usable agricultural space is I see it as a positive for us.
Yeah.
I think our two concerns are vernal pool and then just silt and erosion as you do plantings. So if you're
Can
gonna
I talk
bring,
about that? Because I
Please.
actually do. So 2 years ago, there was a drought, one of the driest years we've had in Massachusetts. There was a lot of the vegetation that died off. It is a concern for me. Actually, it's not even depicted here, but along quite a bit of the area going around the vernal pool, mostly along the road, has eroded due to the heavy rains that we got last year. So what I'm trying to do right now, and maybe this is another time, is to actually plant drought resistant, lavender, anything native to the Northeast, because I noticed along the road, it's on the border of kind of caving in. So I'm a little concerned about that in general. So my concern about erosion is very real. I think it actually is an issue. And I'm hoping that planting some of these species here is going to prevent that. That is my end goal, just so you know.
we appreciate that.
Do I need additional, I don't know what the guidelines are about actually planting native plants. Do I need to submit a plan for that if they're shrubs or anything?
As a
like
request for determination of applicability, no, you do not.
Okay.
I'm correct about that, right, Jennifer?
Yeah, if you send an email with the plants that you're proposing, then I can verify whether or not it meets an exemption under Wetland Protection Act and the bylaw.
I started them all in the greenhouse, so hopefully they'll soon.
Itemize them.
Yeah, there you go, itemize.
So let's open this up for any public comment here for 68 North Main Street. Mr. Red, if you have comment, would you just unmute yourself and turn your video on?
Can you hear me?
We can. Could you also just state your full name and address for the record?
Yep, it's Brian Wright at 49 North Main Street. Is my video on or no?
Your video is not on, but we can hear you.
Okay.
There we go. Now we got your video.
Okay, good. Okay. Yes, I live right across the street from this field. I've lived here for 32 years. And I've watched what's been going on over there from the beginning, thinking that it was, kind of nice that there was maybe a few trees planted in there and it wouldn't look so bad. But as it's continued and as everything about what he's doing is you can't do in wetlands. That land has always been classified as wetlands. That's a vernal pool. There's a stream that connects all that to the big vernal pool out back. He's constructed a driveway going down to essentially fill the wetlands in. He's built this greenhouse with water shedding off of that. He's driving trucks out there, tire ruts everywhere, exposed earth. And he's right. He's created a problem there with the erosion. Water's going in there and it's going directly into that pond. And he's changed the appearance of that property. The fence that's up, the deer can't go through there anymore. They have to go around. There's otters, turtles, all kinds of wildlife. Birds can't even see that chicken wire fence. Yeah, I'm concerned with what's happening over there.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Wright. I think we can address some of that. I think a lot of this meets our sort of minimum standards. As a exempt project, the fencing itself, the barrier to wildlife, we're more concerned about amphibians than deer. And I think changing over from a mowed lawn to a garden is something that the Conservation Commission is typically seeing as being a positive impact on conservation resources. Is there something about the garden in particular that's changed the topography of that soil that you think we ought to consider?
The bringing in of soils from a different place and filling in and changing the elevation, you don't think that's a concern? And the runoff of the water, that dirt, so there's open piles of dirt now. So when it rains and that fills up. So now he's created like an island there in the middle, but there's water surrounding that. With the heavy rains that we get, that area fills up with water. So if you have raised beds of soil and open body of water, those, so is he using fertilizers? What's in the soils? He's saying he's testing it. Is he qualified to test? Are you qualified to test?
I'd love to address that.
Great. All the comments should go through the chair though, so
Yes.
please address your
please, sorry,
comments to the chair, and then the chair will.
Yeah, so that's, that's what I see off the top of my head. I mean, it seems obvious to me that you can't do what you're doing. So the construction of a driveway entering off of a main street, there's no curb cut permit for that. You would have had, there's no erosion control at all. There's no silt protection put up. Just, everything the way you're going about it is completely wrong. Now it's all done. So now what do we do? At this point, I'm not trying to be the bad neighbor here. I'm just trying to protect this area. I've seen it change dramatically, so it's right outside my front door. There's that greenhouse. If you call it a greenhouse, the panels blow off every time the wind blows. I have cars parked right across the street. I'm concerned about that.
Thank you for the comments, Mr. Wright.
Okay.
Any additional comments or questions from the board? Seeing that, I would just like to, Aaron, ask about utilization of fertilizers.
Yeah, I actually don't use fertilizers on the property. On the other side of the vernal pool is my open lawn. That a good amount of it will actually flood. We don't use fertilizers here just because of our awareness of, especially anything synthetic. Nothing synthetic is here. I don't put any additives to the soil here. The only thing that is put on is organic grass seed. Nothing, not even over in the on the farm. And the main reason why I'm not using synthetic fertilizers to then eat the food, that just really is unhealthy. I wouldn't use that.
Thank you.
I'd be adding toxins to the soil and then eating it.
So no other comments from members of the commission here. Right, so I would like to, yeah.
Is there any way that dirt pile can be covered up until it's spread or utilized or removed so it doesn't leach into the vernal pool or stream?
Yeah, well, what would you like to see? I'm open to anything.
Well, if you don't
I
want
can remove the
erosion
pile completely. It's not a large pile. It's about 5 square feet. So I can have that removed, not a problem.
either removed or covered.
Well, I would cover solve the issue if it's still gonna wash off. I'm just thinking if I put a
I
blue
think-
tarp or something.
I think
over it,
I would appreciate it if that would be removed. Of course, when you construct raised beds, I assume you're gonna need some additional material out there.
I'd rather not. To be
Okay.
honest, I'd rather not do any more raised beds. As that is a concern. I can
Okay.
address that. I can be reasonable with that. That's not a problem. As far as any soil that is piled, I can take that off before the next meeting. That's a non-issue to me, not at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the challenging. Can we, Jennifer, this is kind of a logistics question. Can we do a request for determination with a handful of conditions that are written into the request for determination?
You can put a few conditions in there, but it's best not to put a
Yeah.
whole lot of them.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking that, and this is, I'm opening this to the members of the commission here and I'm hoping for some input. I'm thinking we do 3 conditions, no fertilizer, which doesn't appear to be an issue. The water can't come from the vernal pool or the stream. So new source for water and, erosion, and maybe it's 4, right? The soil pile gets removed and erosion control in the event that, there's any changes in silling, or I think it had been raised a full till, right? If you're to till a bed, some erosion control needs to be put in place.
There will be no additional till. This is a no-till garden aside from what's already been done. So
So then those conditions aren't issues.
not at all.
Perfect. All right, so I assume you guys would like to close.
We have one more abutter with their hands
Oh,
up.
we do, please. I did not see an additional butter with a hand up.
They're coming up now.
Rob and Arlene,
Hi, how are you? This is just Rob. My better
Rob.
half is sitting right beside me. My name is Rob Noller. I live at 51 North Main Street. We've lived here for about 8 years. So my house is really directly facing that garden area. I guess my comments, questions are just really basic. One, I've spoken to both Brian and to Aaron, so I understand both parties. I personally feel that a garden will be an improvement if it's done right. And my request is that that Aaron acts in compliance with all of the conservation rules. And so far what I'm hearing is that is his intention. So that's very important to me. I think the one thing that I would be concerned about in the future, and I'd like to get this as a condition perhaps, is that no farm animals allowed, no chickens, no goats in the
Please,
future.
no.
No,
I
so-
want that as a condition.
Yeah, okay.
That's a
So-
condition from me already.
As long as, that's the case, I obviously, that's, would be a concern. And just, I know it's a work in process, but at some point, it would be nice to just see a working garden versus an ongoing, and I know you're working, Aaron, so
Start of
it's
the
hard
growing
when a
season.
retired guy, but I just want to see it kind of like, not be a work in process forever. And I think Brian and the commission brought up all the points about the erosion and all of that. So I'm okay with it. I look at it every day. I'd like to see it, a nice, pretty garden. I think, as the committee said, would actually be an improvement. So, and from what I'm hearing, I think your position and your attitude is one that it is about doing the right thing for the community and also for that garden. So I'm comfortable with that. I do have one question or one request. There is one dead tree that is right between your garden and Main Street, North Main Street. And it's right up against the wires. It's got
It is.
no foliage, no branches whatsoever. And I'm just waiting for that thing to blow over and onto the street and knock down and give us another power failure. So is there any possibility that can be removed? It's completely dead and just waiting to knock on the electrical wires.
So we can't make that part of the permit, but I think there's no reason that it can't be dealt with. And that would affect my power as well. We lose power because folks on North Main Street don't do their tree work all the time.
Right. So,
Um,
yeah. So that would be it. And to Brian's point, so if you could remove the tree, it would make me sleep better, even though I did invest in a generator. But I think Brian's point about trucks going down there, and I know that there's situations where you have to do some initial loading, but again, having that not be a parking lot or leaving trucks around for a month or so, I think would be kind of unreasonable. But I understand that if you do have to bring something down for a day or so, I'm okay with that as well.
Thank you,
So
Rob.
that's it.
Thank you. Any additional public comment for 68 North Main Street? Seeing none, I assume you guys would like to close. Yeah. So motion to close the public hearing for 68 North Main Street.
Second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
All right, motion to issue a negative determination of applicability noting Wetland Protection Act +5 and -3 under the bylaw.
Spady, second.
Hold on, WPA, Wetland Protection Act is a +5 and a -3, and bylaws -3.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So moved. So Carol motion, mostly Jennifer. Spadia, second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Thank you very much.
So negative determination is the answer you want.
Yeah.
It sounds backwards, but it's
I got that.
approved. Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
calling our next order of business, 108 Canton Street. Request, thank you, Aaron. Notice of intent for a parking lot.
And then Rob and Arlene, we're not quite sure. Oh, you did it. Good, thanks. I still don't have the option to put people back in the attendees without accidentally losing them. So
I was trying to do that too.
thank you, you or Melissa, whoever is managing that.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
May I share my screen?
Yes.
All right, sounds good.
Would you please just introduce yourself for the record as well?
Yep. My name is Nick Courtney with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors, and I'm accompanied by Deb Keller of Merrill as well. We're representing our client, the Eastern Conservation Commission, for the notice of intent at 108 Canton Street. The project proponent wishes to put in a, can you see my screen?
Yes.
We
Okay.
can, but if you can zoom in a little bit more, that would be easier to
Yep.
read. Thank you,
All
Nick.
right. So the project proponent wishes to construct a parking lot right here to accommodate 5 parking spaces. The site currently has a driveway, bituminous concrete driveway, which houses a few buildings and structures as seen here, here, and here. The land has been previously used for agricultural purposes as well. The wetlands have been delineated by environmental consulting and restoration. As you can see, we have bordering vegetated wetlands at the southwestern part of the property in blue here, and then there are associated buffer zones. We have a riverfront area associated with the inland bank in blue on this side, and that abuts Quessett Brook. And then we also have bordering land subject to flooding that is outlined in orange here, and it has flood zone elevation AE of 171 on site. So as mentioned before, the proponent wishes to do this parking lot with the 5 spaces, and it'll accommodate 2-way traffic on site. It will adjoin Canton Street as seen here. The parking lot will allow for a proposed walking trail as seen here. And that's just an approximate trail for now as a placeholder. And I would believe that would be up to the Conservation Commission to decide where that final placement would be. Then we also have a proposed rain garden to help treat runoff from the parking lot, and that's located right here. We're also proposing to move the existing farm stands from the location adjacent to Canton Street right here to the rear of the proposed parking lot. And that'll be accompanied by a proposed kiosk. We also have, based on the fact that we're doing work in riverfront area and floodplain area, we have mitigation and restoration area right here, and I'll get into that a little bit more later in the presentation. And we have some compensatory flood storage for any fill we're adding within the floodplain, and that is hatched here and here. And now, actually, we also have proposed erosion control here in the red. That is a filter mitt, which will help protect any erosion or sedimentation from going down into the inland bank or resource areas on site. So now I'm going to get a little bit more into the mitigation planting plan.
Please.
Yep. So this located right here will be where the rain garden is. And these are going to be the associated plants located right here. And this will be the proposed riverfront mitigation area. And
How large is the mitigation area in total?
7,270 square feet. And that was calculated by, we had done, I'll go back to the first page, show our calculation. Right here. So can you see that?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we did 2-to-1 mitigation ratio based on any new alteration we were doing. And that ended up coming out to the 70 square feet.
Could you show us the
Required.
plants again? The planting
Yep.
plan?
Yeah. So this is for the
Perfect.
riverfront area right here.
So Deb Keller with Merrill as well, just for clarification, as you can see, there's 84 trees and shrubs that are going into that approximately 7,200 square foot mitigation area as shown on the plan. I don't know if you can shrink that so they could
Yeah,
see
no.
both.
What was just confusing me is I was reading the rain garden planting and I thought to myself, that doesn't look like this. This makes a lot. This makes a lot more sense. I apologize.
Shrink. So they can see the area. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
so top left, this is the riverfront area planting schedule. And as Deb mentioned, planting 37 trees, 84 shrubs. That will go right here in this lighter shaded area along the riverfront. And then this is the rain garden plantings as seen in this top legend here. So now I'll open the floor to answer any questions or comments.
I think you kind of answered most of mine as we went through that. Jennifer, any staff comment?
Just to reiterate that the trail is tentative
Thank you.
and that the riverfront restoration area also coincides with the orchard, the fruit tree orchard. And so some of the fruit trees that were proposed and that are already planted would probably come out of that list, just so everyone's clear that it's also part of the orchard.
That's interesting. So
Is there-
would the because this is kind of I mean, it is our project. Would the orchard plants count towards the mitigation, or would they be?
Yeah, we would just swap out some of the other trees and include them as the orchard trees.
Okay.
Like in place of pignut hickory or red maple, we might include some of our orchard trees in there.
Okay.
Is there any possibility of including some chestnut trees to substitute for those suggested?
We can certainly make a condition that says if we propose to switch out any more of the plants, that we need to do an amendment ourselves. But that American chestnut could be added to that
Or the
tree
hybrid?
species. Yeah.
We probably want to use some of the hybrid species for protection.
So we're not just subtracting one plant.
You're just swapping them out. That
No.
happens frequently.
I mean in relation to the chestnuts, not necessarily making it to full adulthood. If it's not a
The
hybrid.
hybrids have shown resistance. It's the American chestnut that still has a 5-year life and then goes back to fails and goes back to seedlings or roots.
Absolutely. Okay. Mike, did you have anything to add here?
I had nothing to add. Sounds great.
I think we had a couple questions about waivers. Has that been updated?
They were updated today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mike, was there something else there?
Oh, no.
Just- All right, any public comment with respect to 108 Canton Street?
We have one raised hand.
Hi there, it's
Hey,
Karen
Karen.
Mulder from 100 Canton Street, so we live right next to the Tufts Farm. I'm just wondering if we have a time frame for this. I think it's very exciting what you have planned, and I think it's really nice that, you know, it's laid out the way you've got it. I just wondered about a time frame.
All depends on funding. So we'll be working toward getting the funding, buying the plants. And I think there was one of the plants was goldenrod that might be poisonous to sheep. So there may be a few more changes, swapping out plants and shrubs just for certain ones that are okay. But the time frame, no, I mean, we'd love to do it as soon as possible, but we've got to line up the funding for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none. It's our project, and I think we'd like to close. Motion to close the public hearing for 108 Canton Street.
Benson, second.
Motion Carol, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
All right, motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work for 108 Canton Street.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for all your work on this. This has been
Nice
great.
job, Nick.
Yeah,
Thank
good,
you.
good luck. Good luck.
We'll need
Have a
it.
good night.
You too.
Yep.
Calling our next order of business, 718 Washington Street. Applicant PMP Consulting, notice of intent for construction of a commercial building with a new septic system.
Hello.
Hi, Samantha.
I'm Samantha from PMP Consulting. On this call, we also have environmental specialist Brad Holmes from ECR and our engineer at PMP, Michael Peralt. This hearing is for the site development portion of this project. I'm trying to share my screen. There we go. The applicant, Kleber Fijo, is proposing to redevelop this site with a commercial workshop, associated utilities, septic system, and drainage system. The wetlands associated on site are an intermittent stream. Brad Holmes delineated this stream and the rest of the wetlands. At this time, if Brad wants to present his scope of the work, feel free. If not, Brad and Mike are available for questions regarding the environmental work, wetlands, stormwater.
Samantha, you cut out on us.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes from the ECR. If you remember, we were in front of the commission last year, I don't know, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
months or so ago. We actually have an ORAD, an order of resource area delineation on this. There are several resource areas, bordering vegetated wetland, inland bank to a stream, riverfront, and flood zone. We were able to confirm that through an ORAD. Part of that ORAD process, we had a restoration component. So there was a significant restoration plan and that resulted through the order of resource area delineation. That area consisted of buffer zone restoration and flood zone restoration. That's somewhat off to the right of your screen. There isn't any proposed alterations to that plan. That the project avoids those areas. So with that, I'll bring it back to Samantha. She can describe your project.
So Brett, I'm sorry, I was a little distracted there. Has that work begun?
I don't believe it has. I think that work should be planned as soon as they have orders of conditions for this work, and then that would be the start. Get into that area to the east and work your way out, and then, you know, install your erosion controls and leave that area alone as you're working on the development. Obviously, we're in the spring, so that would be good to get that in place.
Yeah, the restoration work is separate. That was a previous violation, and that needs to happen, you know, right away. So that should be already started.
So Samantha, did we lose you? Are you still here? We can't hear you if you're talking to us.
I'm gonna stop share.
Yeah, that might help. Cause she cut out right when Brad jumped in.
There we go.
I wasn't sure if that was orchestrated or.
That looked like accidental. Michael, if you want to, do you want to raise your hand and I'll promote you, or you want to fill in? Okay.
So Samantha, if you can't tell, we cannot hear you or see you. Michael, we can see you, but you're muted.
Let's try this again, folks. Good evening. I'm Mike Peralta, and I'm the registered professional civil engineer working at PMP Consulting. I don't know what happened to Samantha, but I went over the project with her today for the presentation. The site basically is the development portion associated with the restoration, as Brad had said. And what we're doing at the site is we're redeveloping the site, but not taking redevelopment credit. The site is designed to remove impervious areas in the 200-foot riparian zone, provide a stormwater management system that overachieves the required amount. We're maximizing the amount of recharge into the ground. We've provided enough water quality volume in exceedance of requirements to actually qualify that our project will meet the 90% TSS removal and 60% phosphorus removal, which is a very important thing, especially when you're just outside of a riverfront area. The design basically is a simplistic type of design, so it makes it easier for the operator to maintain the system. We've provided in-ground systems to treat the roof. We provided systems with storm scepters, hydrodynamic separators for treatment. And we've provided a final polishing infiltration basin. And because of the need to respect the 200-foot riparian zone, we're using bin blocks in order to create the outside walls and using those blocks to create the control weir. So we've managed to control the volumes off the site to way below pre-development. We've controlled the flow as much as we can. We've met certain requirements. In some instances, because it's going over a bin block, the CFS increases for like 20 seconds to go over the pre and post, but it disappears within the first iteration. So the volume is what's controlling here for pre and post development. So the site has been designed to have a septic system, and that's furthest away from the riparian zones. And like I said, all the items necessary under stormwater management are now being provided, whereas there was no stormwater management for any of the impervious surfaces that existed previously to this proposal. So that is a quick nutshell presentation of what is being proposed on the site. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Jennifer, did we get DEP comments on this?
You did, it was about riverfront area, but the riverfront area is jurisdictional under the bylaw only, not the state law.
Thank you.
So I did send them, an email about that, but I didn't get a reply. Did you, Michael?
We didn't reply. We felt that your response was satisfactory, is that
Yeah,
the
you didn't hear
restoration,
anything back from DEP though, did you?
no,
Okay.
no.
Yep. Typically, we would have the stormwater reviewed, so that would be up to the commission to decide if you want to continue with that stormwater review.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
You would make that a motion.
So be just motion for peer review on stormwater.
Yes.
Motion for peer review on stormwater.
80 seconds.
Carol, motion, Spadia second, roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spadia.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just have one more. So
Yeah, please.
area between the restoration work and the limit of work for the new portion, there was that gravel area in between in the riverfront area. And I think I heard you say that it's going to be restored, that you're
Yes.
removing the gravel from there. And then what's the cover treatment after that?
I don't have the plan open,
Okay.
but it's listed on the plan. It was coordinated with Brad for the restoration of that. It's probably going to be some sort of meadow in order to keep that as natural as possible.
Those were all the questions I have until the stormwater is reviewed.
Thank you. Comments from members of the commission?
Just a quick question, please. Can you tell me what type of workshop that's going to be? Is it going to have a lot of chemicals stored or, liquid chemicals?
I don't know the particulars for it, but because we have to put together a stormwater pollution prevention plan, chemical storage is part of that plan, that if he does have chemicals inside that storage, that facility, they have to be properly stored. And if it's any type of spillage, they're going to have to follow all the pollution prevention plan requirements under their NPDES permit.
So there's really a lot of difference between one, barrel and 500 gallons or 1,000 gallons. I don't know whether, how does that fit in with your prevention plan?
Again, I can get an answer back for the commission to quantify what his plans are for that storage, his workshop facility. But I don't have that knowledge that I can,
I'd be interested in that, just the volume and the chemicals that
what he's planning on doing.
Yeah.
I know that the contractor base, they typically have a lease on them that prohibits them from storing things inside there. The fire chief gets pretty fussy about what goes into these areas also.
Okay.
So it also sounds like you're talking about two different things. Al's asking about long-term, and Michael, you're talking about construction term.
No,
But-
I'm talking about the long-term use of the place.
Okay.
All right, so if that's a question you can answer between now and the next time you're in front of us, I think we'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you very
Certainly,
much.
we'll get that answer for you.
Thank you.
Al, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Mike, any comments?
None for me. Al is a good question.
All right, any public comments here for 718 Washington Street? All right.
I don't see.
Seeing none, what's a reasonable continuance of this, Jennifer, with peer review?
Well, we have May 13th and June 3rd as the next two meetings. I would guess that June 3rd is more realistic for a peer review. But it would be nice to know, by the next meeting where we are within the actual restoration area. Maybe the team could get together and figure out when that will begin.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll also remind them to get a schedule together on that.
Thank you.
Quick question. This is also going to be going before the planning board. Do you normally coordinate the peer reviews between the planning board and the Conservation Commission?
We do, yeah, we don't want to duplicate that.
Okay, because I'm one of the peer reviewers in the town of Middleborough, and I work with the planning board, and I share all my peer reviews on stormwater management with the Conservation Commission there. It certainly helps them out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I see Samantha is reconnected.
Hello, sorry about that.
That's
I
all right,
could not get back
Samantha.
on.
So I think we'll continue absent objection from the applicant to June 3rd.
Yeah, that gives the peer reviewer enough time to get into
Yeah.
it also.
And we would appreciate an update by next meeting, although I don't think you need to be on the agenda, just an update on status and plan for the restoration work. Okay.
And also you want to know about the storage in the workshop,
Yes, please.
and if he's got some sort of standard type of restrictions for any of those contractor base.
Yes, please.
We may just send that along in some correspondence to Jennifer ahead of time.
That
So
would be
you
great.
will have that prior to your meeting.
That would be very helpful.
Okay.
All right, so I will do motion to continue 718 Washington Street to the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
You too. So our next order of business has requested a continuance. It is Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street, Mass DOT Highway Division application. Notice of intent for road improvements on Washington Street. Should have probably just said that last part. So I'm going to, absent any objection from the commission, I'm going to do a motion to continue Washington Street improvements to the May 13th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Spady, a second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
All right. Turning next to 40 Prospect Street, notice of intent for floodplain alteration. Is Azu here?
Yeah, he's coming up now.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
Great. Good to see you all. Now I'm always getting into this difficult part, not being too savvy. So let me let me
Take
try
your
to
time.
do sharing again because let's see. Okay. Okay, let's share screen. Okay. Okay, last time we came before the commission, there were actually, I should do the plan first. Sorry.
Yes, please.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's a miracle. So last time we were before the commission, there was a question as to we discussed the proposed garage, how it was touching this area of the floodplain. So we moved the garage was slid towards the street, maintaining now the minimum setback from the street line so that we can provide additional separation from the floodplain line. This is the floodplain line right here. And speaking with the applicant, we reduced the width of the garage to the minimum that will allow for the equipment to be stored in the garage. So instead of 30-foot wide right here, we've made it 26. And then this is the recharge with the swale coming from this direction here.
Isaac, could you zoom in a little bit there?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, it also helps if
Is
you
that better?
get out of the all tools.
Oh, okay.
Can you go up to the left
Say that again, Jen?
where it says all tools and X out of that?
All tools, you said?
Yep,
Oh, this way?
a little more, the X.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yep,
Yes.
X out of that, please.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
Thank
better.
you.
You can see that I'm not aware. Okay, this one says hide this here. Oh, probably not. Okay. So thanks for that, because I haven't got a clue. So basically, this is the floodplain line with an established elevation. And so this is the swale that we've cut in to take water to the recharge. We have also provided some volume calculations right here. Basically, what we did was what we call the average end area method, right? Because your cross section is not uniform. So you take a cross section between the first test pit and the next one, and then you calculate, you do the average area and multiply by the distance between them. So what we've labeled is 4 different areas, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so we call this volume A, just being this particular area here. This will be volume B, volume C, and volume D. And because if you look at the depth of the observed fill in that area, we don't go up to a foot. So you don't really have our change in elevation that is up to a foot that you can do incremental calculations. So we use the average end area method, and then we come up here at 250 square feet by that distance, and then we come up with 1.9 cubic feet. This one here is 1.6. This here is 5.9, and this here is 12.9 cubic feet. So in the narrative, as well as the response correspondence that we have provided, we've basically asked the commission that the commission allow the work, and what we were proposing is that all the mediation work be done first before the garage or the paved driveway be done, including the installation, because then that would allow for performance evaluation and make sure that if in fact the commission allows the work to go, that we can do it incrementally so that Jennifer could observe what is being done and after each section is done or each level of work is done, review it and then say, okay, that is satisfactory, or you have to do a little bit more, and then we can move to the next phase. We have included specifications for the planting and for the planting, as well as erosion control, the excuse me, the conservation permanent markers. This is the detail that we have put together, which is consistent with the commission's specifications. So I think we've tried, at least attempted, to address the concerns, and we feel that we have done all we can, and hope that the commission will find that a good effort has been made to address the commission's concerns and the environmental planners' concerns.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, staff comment?
Azu, if you can scroll back over so we can see the project.
You would stop sharing?
No, I think
Oh.
if you could zoom out and scroll
Oh,
over
zoom
a
out.
little bit.
Okay. Yeah,
It was the
yeah.
project again.
Is that too much zoom out?
Little bit.
Zoom
Maybe a
back
little,
in?
maybe zoom in just a little bit.
Oops. Is that okay here?
Yep, that's good. So moving the garage and the recharge area are certainly improvements to the last plan. Those were
Yeah.
good. The two trees that are in red, I'm wondering why they need to be removed. Now that the garage has been moved, those two trees can stay, couldn't they?
These two here?
Correct.
Yes, well, I thought they, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the reason is they didn't look too healthy. But I'm not an arborist. That's what Ken Thompson had suggested. So I don't, they can stay if the commission feels that they should stay, Jen wants to feel that they should stay. But Ken Thompson had looked at them when he did the delineation and said that those two were, I forgot what term he used, but basically that they're ill, deceased, something like to that effect.
Okay.
And my other last issue is that the commission has a 50-foot no disturb area, not just within, no disturb within a resource area like the floodplain, but there's typically a sizable buffer next to a wetland boundary. So the commission has not really talked about the violation area where it was cleared and fill pushed right up against the wetland boundary. It now shows a fence right up against the wetland boundary without much of a buffer zone. So that's something the commission is going to need to make a decision on.
Could you show us that line that we're talking about? Is that is a question I also have. Can you show me the wetland line that is now, is it now a fence that wasn't permanent?
Let me
Oh, no.
see. Yes.
Are you talking the post and rail fence, Jen?
Not up there, down by the wetland in the back. Yeah.
Right here?
Just looking for, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, right here.
Keep going. All the way over to the
Okay.
left, flags, 2 through 11. You would
Right here.
normally have a sizable
Right through.
buffer to that area.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
And that's all currently fence?
No, that's proposed as fence. That's the violation area.
Understood.
This area here, that the cursor or the arrow is, this area here was where they took out the failed septic system. that was replaced when they moved this septic system, they put a new septic system over here. So the septic system was right in here. And so some of that work, quite frankly, I'm not going to sit here before the commission and say categorically how much of it was the disturbance associated with the septic system decommissioning from this area and additional disturbance. Quite frankly, I didn't want to do any exploration there because I didn't want to play in any septic material. I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be exposing myself to that.
So-
to be honest with you.
So that's why I think it's, you know, speaking as one member of the commission here, I'm sensitive to the fact that this is a very challenging site and that we're meeting a lot of different resources and challenges while we're here. But I think final iteration of this, I'm okay with how the garage is proposed now, but I think we got to see some kind of a buffer restored for the wetland along the back.
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with it. I'm just saying, whatever the commission feels or Jen feels that we should be done here, I think we are amenable to it. I'm just saying that I didn't want to be doing any test pit in here. I don't want to be playing in that material myself.
So Jen, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here and tell me if I'm stepping on my own feet, but I don't think that we need test pits. I think we just need a buffer for that resource area. So there's no infiltration or new septic systems going back there, and
no.
And I think just some maybe even proposed plantings and a buffer zone to allow that to revegetate. And I think we're really close here.
Okay.
Do you have a size buffer that you're looking at? I mean, 50 is your bylaw. Obviously, you can't make 50 happen.
No,
here.
because this is the 50 right here. This line here is the 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what
what's
is
the buffer right now, Azu?
Pardon me?
What's the buffer right now, Azu? It looks like 2 feet.
Yeah, over here it's literally over here. Right here it's a foot. Right here it's about 2. The maximum you have right here is about 5 feet right here. Yeah. Would something about just about would something going from this corner right here, coming straight across this test pit and into here, would that work? About actually this, okay, so let me take that back. See this heat through here? That is the replaced septic tank and the pump chamber. So that's gonna be there. So perhaps go straight from here to this point here, and then remove this pad here, revegetate this area. So go from this corner here straight across to here, like that. That makes sense?
I think so.
Because you need a room for them to. Part of the maintenance of your septic system is pump. You got to pump the tank.
Absolutely.
So they need a little, maybe a 10-foot wide area to work to get in and out.
No, I think that makes more sense than what's here.
Yep.
So I'm okay with that. Other members of the commission?
Okay, here.
Yep.
I like that. Yep.
All right.
You obviously need to just discuss that with your client.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's one more continuance on this, and hopefully last continuance on this. Maybe we can get this done. May 13th work for you?
More than work for me. More than work for me.
Right.
I would I will turn around and I'm gonna send that the next couple of days to Jen to make sure that that I capture what we just discussed for that buffer in the back.
Sorry, Azia, I think I froze for a minute there, but I think I got you want to capture this and the 13th works for you.
Yeah, and send it to Jen to make sure that
Yeah,
what I just done is had recollection of what we just discussed, and
Perfect.
then we should be okay. Yes, sir.
perfect. All right, so motion to continue 40 Prospect Street to the May 13th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Benson second,
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spade, aye.
Thank you, Asu.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Calling our next order of business, 38 Randall Street, Caitlin Roach, applicant Strong Point Engineering Solutions. Request for amendment of order conditions for a single family home. Looks like Eric is joining us now.
Hey, everybody, I think I'm here.
We can see you, we can hear you. It's half the battle.
Yeah, fantastic. Caitlin Roach may be on the call tonight. I'm not.
Yes.
If her kids let her get away from bedtime and for long enough.
Do you want us to promote her if she's here?
Might as well, sure.
Jennifer, I don't think I'm co-host.
Caitlin's joining now.
Hey, there we go. All right, great. So for the record, Eric Dias, registered professional engineer with Strong Point Engineering, representing Caitlin Roach at 38 Randall Street. This is the 93rd time we've been before you folks for this particular project. No, I'm exaggerating. But you will recall this was a tight site that was approved as a single family home some time ago. At the time that it was originally approved, it was done to have a very, very limited yard area. When Caitlin and her family purchased the property and built the house, they have small children, they have a few dogs, they decided that they needed some more lawn area. So we appeared in September of 23 for an amended order of conditions to allow some additional clearing of a backyard. That was granted, but a condition of approval was that the conservation restriction that's required on this property be recorded prior to any work being done. So Caitlin had signed the conservation restriction. I believe Jennifer signed it as well. And then we shipped it up to the state in early November. And the state told us at that time that it's about 90 days for them to get some preliminary comments back to us. But they did note that they were very backed up at the time. So as of February of this year, we had not heard anything from the state yet. And we appeared back before this commission in asking for permission to just remove the trees that were approved to come down because some of them were a hazard and falling and things like that. And this commission agreed. The trees have been removed. And around mid-March, I believe, Caitlin had started really chasing the state a bit. And after about a month's time, she received kind of a one-liner back from the state that says that their review of the conservation restriction has not begun. That was at least 6 months from the time that we submitted. So based on that timeline, I am conservatively estimating another 6 months before this is actually finalized at the very least. If it did take that long, that would put us at the end of the fall season, which likely means that Caitlin and her family wouldn't be able to complete this work until spring of 2025, best case scenario. I don't believe that that was anyone's intention when this condition was made. And obviously the state is very backed up. I believe that Caitlin has completely illustrated that she's going to abide by this and is willing to continue to chase it. So what we're asking for now is to just let her get to work, finish this work. The rest of her lawn as well is not a lawn at this point. So the site is unstable. Jennifer and I have walked the site a couple of times and agree that some of the material that was bought in needs to be skimmed off, needs to be loamed and seeded. There's some erosion items that need to be manicured and touched up. So this will allow that whole thing to proceed. And we will certainly stay on the CR and get that wrapped up as quickly as we can. And that's about all I have.
So I don't think it was our intention that this would hold up a project for 2 years. I think I think everything that could be done by the applicant at this point has been done by the applicant, and I am in favor of allowing this amendment, and I would like to make sure everyone else here agrees.
I support it.
I support it.
Sorry, Jennifer, I should have done this first. Staff comment on this issue?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, just make a motion.
All right, so let's do a motion to amend 38 Randall Street as requested to allow work before, I guess, the finalization of the conservation restriction by the state.
Benson second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Spady, aye.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience and sorry for bureaucracy.
Not your fault. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
So next order of business is 109 Rockland Street. We're on to enforcement. This is cutting vegetation, grading, and filling in the wetland.
We have a COC before that.
Completely skipped the COC. I apologize. We're on to certificates of compliance. 358 Turnpike Street, Peter Narsasian, Collins Civil Engineering Group. Request for certificate of compliance for a residential septic system replacement.
Peter is coming up.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Good evening, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Good. I haven't seen you in a couple meetings.
I know, I'm busy. I actually, I'm here tonight, I guess, for 80 Short Street, but I can try to answer any questions for this one.
Okay.
You guys have any?
Yes. So I think there were. Yeah, there were a few. I think the maybe most concerning to us is probably continued debris in the wetland, trash, tires, oil containers, a boat. Are you alert to that, Peter?
Honestly,
It sounds like
I haven't had anything to do with this project in a while. I am familiar with the site. I have no correspondence from them in quite some time now, to be honest.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess I'm confident that the septic system is done. It's just a matter of everything else.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a cleanup. The septic was put in a while ago.
All right, so I guess you're in a odd position here where you weren't prepared to be addressing this one. Are you prepared to reach out to the applicant and
Yeah, no, we
see what they
don't.
want to do here? Was the certificate of compliance, Jen, who filed the COC?
Might have been George.
The applicant himself, or okay.
No, it's Collins Engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, it may have been my office. It was not
Okay.
personally, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm a little
Understood.
hard with this one. I apologize for that.
All right, so I think, Jen, is there anything else that we need to address on this before?
I just don't take any action, and hopefully we'll have an answer by the next meeting.
Yeah, all right, so we'll continue the certificate of compliance to the next meeting, which is May 13th, Peter.
Okay, and I'll try to get I will reach out to the owner tomorrow, see what's going on, let them know, and hopefully they can be in attendance for the next meeting. That's May 13th, you said, correct?
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Jen, do I need to vote on that?
Nope.
COCs we typically don't. So we'll head to enforcement next, beginning with 109 Rockland Street. Looks like Michelle's joining us now. Hi, Michelle. We
Can
can
you
see
hear me
you.
now?
We can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I visited this site in September of 23 and delineated the wetlands. And sorry, I had the flu and I couldn't go to the other hearings, but I sent you a report. And I just want to ask if you have any questions. Did you get the plan? With the
I did, and when
plan?
I did the site inspection, it looked like the wetlands were just flagged around the violation. Did you do the soil test through the 2 or more
Yes, I
feet of
did.
fill?
Yeah, I did the soils too, yes.
So you dug through 2 feet or more of soil.
Yes. Yeah, and the soils were loamy soils and, you know, he didn't really take out soils that he brought in soils. You saw that big pile, right, Jen?
Yeah, the pile that looks like it's in the wetland.
No, the big pile that was on a site. Yeah, he brought that in because he was going to fill that, but he didn't add any fill to the wetland as of yet.
I think I would have a disagreement with that wetland line, Michelle.
Okay, well, do you want to meet me out there or?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, it was hard because, you know, so I went out there a couple weeks and things are growing up, but, you know, it was totally, well, and I did soils and I found hydric soils and that's kind of where I put the line, where the hydric soils were.
And so the bylaw requires the line is where the plants are.
Yeah, well, there were no plants, as you saw when you went out there.
Right,
And there were,
yeah, I saw the fill in the wetland, so the question is probably up to 2 feet of fill, so digging down 2 feet and then doing the soil test.
yes, I had a shovel with me. Yeah. Yeah, and I did find wetland soils, yes.
So we'll schedule a site visit.
Okay, yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
I know we're here now and I don't mind it. I mean, because of my sickness and everything, so I'm glad that we're finally here. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I guess the continuation of this is there'll be a site inspection, hopefully between now and next meeting, and we'll review then.
Yes, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time.
Do you want to get together on the phone this week to talk about or do you want to schedule it now?
I don't have my calendar right now, so yeah, we'll.
Okay,
do
yeah,
that
I'll
tomorrow
give
would
you a
be good.
call. Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So next order of business is 80 Short Street, filling of wetland, new patio without a permit. And I think we have Peter here for that.
How we doing? You hear me, see me?
Yep, we got you.
Awesome. I'm going to pull up the plan from a couple of years ago to kind of start things off here and do a recap of where we're at with it. Let's see if I can start by sharing the plan. Can we confirm we can see this?
We can see it.
Okay. Quick recap of this project. I guess for the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering tonight. I am on with Jim, the property owner, as well. Basically, what we did in 2021, the client was issued an enforcement order, basically for filling in a portion to the northern part of his property. It's approximately a 2,800 square foot area. What we're looking at here is our mitigation plan that was submitted in response to the enforcement. Quick overview of this proposal was to remove the gravel fill area to the north of the pool fence, remove a slab located behind the existing shed, and provide pretty extensive planting plan consisting of trees, small shrubs and bushes. And I believe we did an upland seed mix throughout the area as well. Also with this, were proposed conservation posts, a total of 9, basically wrapping around the resource, starting at the street and going around into the existing lawn backyard. So this was a couple of years ago. The client has been working to remove a lot of the gravel fill. At this point, we have done an existing condition survey to update what's out there. I will present that shortly. But at this point, most of this area has been leveled. We've brought in suitable plantable fill material. However, we are still waiting on the plantings. It's my understanding that that's going to be loam and seeded, and the planting was to be done, I guess, this spring, now that we're in the growing season. So that's kind of phase 1 of what was going on. And then recently, the client has kind of expanded the patio area around the pool. So I'm going to stop sharing this one. And I'm going to bring up an existing conditions plan that was updated a few weeks ago. So looking at this plan, the red outline is basically the existing silt fence limit as depicted on the previous mitigation plan. So this gravel storage area is currently still a fill material, but is about to be loam and seeded. The issue that we're here for tonight is a recently installed paver patio, this kind of brick looking hatching here, and then just over 1,000 square feet of a concrete patio expanding to the north at the similar elevation as the existing patio. So we're looking at a total increase of about 1,300 square feet. Unfortunately, all of which is inside of the 50-foot buffer to the resource. It's my understanding our client reached out to the building department to do the patio work. He was notified that through the building department, no permits were necessary. However, obviously he overlooked the fact that conservation definitely needed to be involved in this. So that's basically where we're at with things now. Again, this is an existing updated conditions plan. We're essentially looking for guidance from the commission as far as how to proceed with this. The concrete is already placed and obviously cured. So I guess just looking for some input from you guys as how to handle this.
So Peter, at our last meeting, we had asked that a notice of intent be filed to address the additional patio space. And I think I was unaware as to the amount of work that had been completed towards restoration. So it's good to see that some progress has been made and that we're waiting on some plantings. Do you know the status of the plantings? Is there a plan to get them in this growing season, or are we?
I spoke with the owner, he should be on here prior to the meeting, and his intent, as I mentioned, it's basically all leveled. They're just bringing in a final top coat of loam. They're going to seed that and then do the plantings, I would imagine, before summer.
Okay.
So basically as soon as now we're in the growing season. So the intent, I guess, is to handle that ASAP. The conservation posts are not installed. They are on site and ready to be installed. I would imagine at least a couple of them are going to stay out till the end just to allow for access into the rear area to get the work done. So the plantings and the conservation posts should be installed within the next month to 2 months, I would say, comfortably.
Jennifer, were you trying to add something?
I have a question because
Yeah,
I
please.
thought I heard that the gravel has been removed from the violation area. But the previous plan that you showed had elevations of 115. This is the existing conditions most recent plan where it still says gravel and the grades are 116. So it doesn't look to me like the fill has been removed.
A lot of the fill has been removed. I'm actually looking, I don't know why the contours are not showing up on this plan.
Okay.
But yeah, there's spot elevations. I mean, I did the survey out here, so I know
Okay.
we're updated spot elevation. It honestly, it just looks like the layer for the existing contours is turned off, which I change on this PDF. The commission should have the correct copy. But yeah, the area has been basically checked, and is very close to the proposed contours associated with the mitigation.
What's the expiration date of this existing order of conditions that requires the planting? Because it seems like that must be expiring soon if it hasn't already.
Yeah, I don't have the exact date. The mitigation plan itself was proposed, looks like August 17th of 21. So I forget what you usually get with that. Is it 3 years for the permit?
3. So we're likely coming up on it end of the summer, fall.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to go in.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
3
sorry.
years
That's the
would
20.
be 2023.
What was the day of the restoration plan?
It would be 8/17/21. So August 17th, 24 would be, yeah, so it expires this August, I believe.
Okay. The commission may want to set a deadline for when this needs to be done, because it really should be done this spring, this growing season, and then you need fencing to protect it from deer and watering through the summer.
Okay. So we have the issue of notice of intent and then this restoration plan, which is expiring in August. I think, I would very much like to see this planted this season within the next few months, which I don't think is impossible with plants being ordered, Peter.
I'm sorry. I'm on the call. I'm sorry, Jim Bugner here.
Yeah.
Yes, 1000% I agree with everybody. Let's get this behind us.
Thank you.
We have everything ready. We just got to finalize a little bit more, and then we're ready to go. We'll have Jennifer back out and do what we have to do and just put it behind us.
All right. And it sounds like Peter's on deck to do the notice of intent for the patio.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Good, thank you.
Wonderful.
Peter, I think that's it on this one.
All right, we'll get that together and submitted shortly for you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Turning to our next order of business, 24 Summer Street.
He's asked for a little bit more time. He was finishing the application today and working through the fee schedule. So he has been working on it and just need a little bit more time to be able to make the application payment.
Perfect. So let's put this on the agenda again for next meeting and just stay on top of it. Thank you. And then 5 Jonathan Drive. Is Paul here?
No.
So Mike and I went out, did an inspection again, met with Paul, who's the property owner. Jennifer also went out to take a look, and I think we've sort of come to the conclusion that a professional needs to get involved. I was then included in some emails to a wetland scientist from Paul, so I know that he has in fact reached out and made some efforts to engage somebody to do this work. And I will follow up with him again between now and next meeting, but we have informed him and that someone needs to supervise the restoration work that needs to be done here. Anything needed to be added to that?
Nope, sounds good.
Okay. So I am going to just do a 5-minute motion to adjourn because my dog is asking me to. So 5-minute motion to adjourn.
Second.
feels silly doing a vote for this. Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote. That's a Benson, I, Carol, I,
Spadia.
Spadia, I. See
Okay,
you all
back at
back here,
8:16.
back at 8:16. Oh, we're back. So let's pick up at board discussions. We have an annual report presentation from Tufts Farm. Hey Dan, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing well.
Great. Great. So I'm Dan Finnegan. I'm with Solar Shepherd, and I'm here to provide my annual report on operations at Tufts Farm to the Commission. Provided that report to Jen. I'm sure she forwarded that around to everyone, and I won't read off every word to you, but I'll walk you through the highlights of the report. To start off with some animal statistics, we have 142 sheep on the property. There's 3 different breeds, 113 border Dorpers, 18 border Leicesters, and 11 Suffolks. Winter time animal management. We're calling winter November through the end of April. For the winter, we use containment pens and provided the sheep access to pasture in good weather. Wasn't a whole lot of good weather. A lot of time the pasture was too wet to support animal weight, and to prevent damaging that, we weren't out on that pasture. Sheep are heading into the grazing season now with a 4.5 average body condition score. That means our sheep are, technically speaking, fat but not obese. Which is a familiar condition at the end of winter in our household. We pride ourselves on the condition of the animals. It's key to our business. It's key to our success. It's key to our livelihood. Maintaining healthy, beautiful animals and clean, healthy facilities is really key to the Solar Shepherd operation. Summertime, so calling that May through October. The majority of our animals are off grazing solar sites around New England. We've talked about all that. Smaller number of sheep will reside on the property year round. The rams will be there. The Suffolks are expected to spend much of their time at Tufts. Suffolks are a larger wool breed. Updates on the recovery of Tufts Farm. So upon the lease execution, the property wasn't yet safe for animals, and the house wasn't safe for occupancy. We've turned our initial and our ongoing focus towards making the property safe for the animals. So we've been dealing with some partially buried fencing, which sort of creates snares and unsafe conditions for the animals. There's a bunch of trash on the ground that we've been removing. The house is gutted, as we've talked about. Due to this work, we kept the animals up close to the barn, close to the driveway. It was the areas beyond that were quite unsafe for the animals. We've completed a large percentage of this work. So what remains for debris, immediately along the inside of the stone wall fronting Canton Street, there's still some remaining debris there. We haven't gotten to that yet because it's in briars, and we're picking through it and getting it out as much as we can before we try to cut back the briars to get the rest of it. The area to the west of the barn, there's still some partially buried trash there and some abandoned steel. And when I say some, I mean a couple thousand pounds. The pasture due west of the barn, the very back pasture, still contains litter and unsafe fencing. And we're working our way back there. We're starting at the barn area and working our way out so we can expand the footprint that the animals have access to. As we clear the trash and debris, we've been removing some downed trees, already down, dead trees on the ground. We've pulled about 18 out so far, which is about half what we believe we need to clear to restore the fencing. We've recovered about 2.5 acres of pasture that was lost to overgrowth, to brush, to debris, wild rose, So we've recovered that, some of that with brush hogging, some of it with hand trimming. To finish that part of the project, we need to rent a dumpster to remove the trash we've gathered. We've been stockpiling that in the laydown yard. We're going to work with the Board of Health to determine if we can rent another dumpster for the property, which would make removal a lot easier. Just pick it up, drop it in the dumpster, and then have it hauled. Additionally, we've kept up with the regular property management, the mowing the lawn, leaf cleanup, spring and fall, the debris removal from storm damage. Feel like the property looks good. On the farm development, the sheep facility investment at Tufts Farm, we've invested over $60,000 to date in building out that facility. We've fitted out the barn and we're building out the working farm to house the sheep. We house them for the winter on the property. We built 3 separate containment pens to divide the sheep by their feeding requirements. The different breeds have different requirements for feed, and you know, if your larger breed sheep are in with your smaller breed sheep don't get enough to eat. So we kept them separate and fed them appropriately throughout the winter. We installed 3 temporary barns for their housing. We installed a handling system with an integrated scale that allows us to track individual animal weight, not just the flock as a whole. All of this has been installed and used throughout the winter successfully. The orchard. Tufts Conservation Commission Tufts Farm Master Plan suggested a 10-tree orchard in the public park area of the property. So to help with this, Solar Shepherd donated and installed the orchard. We brought in an orchard manager to help us properly prepare and install the orchard, and prepare the ground and deal with placing and spacing of the trees, things that we needed a little education on. The orchard manager also manages a vineyard and taught us how to properly manage that 100-year-old grapevine that's behind the house. I'm kind of excited about that. That vine has a little bit of a history to it in town. Was transplanted to Tufts over 100 years ago, and at the time was estimated to be a 100-year-old vine. So we're cleaning that up and restoring that. So we cleared the land. We removed dead fruit trees and stumps that were there, and planted 3-year-old trees. We've got 4 apples, 3 peaches, 2 pears, and a plum. Only the peaches flowered this year. The others were pruned back properly in the fall. But the peaches were really cute out there, the blossoms. On the pastures, ongoing cleaning and clearing those pastures and making them safe. Every time it rains, we find more. The last heavy rainstorm, we pulled 3 hammers out of the pasture. We're still pulling out old fence. We've been liming the pasture, and we've been overseeding the heavy use areas with white clover. That's going to help improve the nutrition of those pastures. It's going to put more nitrogen in the soil, and it provides some forage for the bees in the area as well. Commission asked that Solar Shepherd spread manure on the pastures to improve soil health. Given some of the sensitivities in the neighborhood, we've avoided doing that. We haven't fertilized those pastures. To reduce the manure pile that's been building, we've found a local commercial worm farmer who is taking yardage off property and feeding that to worms. Side note, quite a successful worm business, selling worms by the pound. Something I didn't know about, and probably a lot easier to farm than sheep. With the grazing season here and animals leaving for the summer, the access to that back pasture is going to be better for us for these improvement projects. So this summer is going to be spent fencing the front and back pastures, storing our equipment a little more securely. That'll facilitate public access, and development of the trails that'll connect to the Flyway Pond network. And to that end, we've met with conservation to talk about trail placement. We've met with local hunters. We've met with Northeast mountain bikers to gather their ideas and input on that. Before we make any decisions, we'd come back and talk about it with the commission. We're really excited about the installation of the public parking lot. That's going to be great. We're excited to show off all the work we've done at Tufts, and looking forward to that. Anything we can do to support that, we're excited to do. Public access. So unofficial visitors. We've been providing private tours for anyone who's requested them, whether that request comes over email or just a walk onto the property when we're there. We're going to begin advertising availability for those private tours in May, and get more folks in to see what's going on at Tufts, see the improvement there. Again, public access will be improved tremendously when there's a parking lot there and folks can safely get off of Canton Street. It's a little quick and a little blind on that curve. Official visitors. Since we moved in August, we've welcomed members of the Conservation Commission multiple times per month. We've requested and received an unaccompanied visit by the Board of Health just to take a look at what we're doing and give us any feedback on that. We've welcomed the animal control officer to the property at least 3 different times. Once for an annual barn inspection for which we were present, once for a complaint investigation for which we were not present, and the complaint was determined to be invalid. And then lastly, upon our request immediately following the last public hearing. We brought on senior executives from 5 multinational energy companies to tour the property. And they're coming there to evaluate the animal welfare, the cleanliness of the facilities, how we operate as they're making decisions on signing contracts to have us do the same on their properties. Proud to report that all of these executives found the property to be beautiful and exciting. Thought the animals looked wonderful, and in all cases, we won their business. So we're thankful for that. Let's see, the company leaders have enjoyed their visit to Easton. Most of these folks had never been to Easton before or heard of the town of Easton. Liked it there. They've all expressed interest in donating to Tufts Farm. One firm in particular does have budgets set aside to invest in public parks in the communities in which they operate. So we're talking to them about what's needed at Tufts and how they could support that. A lot of good feedback on lunch at La Cucina. And then on the volunteer front, we'd like to take a moment just to thank the many volunteers who've been participating in projects here at Tufts. Conservation Commission members have come and volunteered their personal time. DPW employees have volunteered their time as well. Numerous residents on Canton Street have come and worked with us in the fields and on the pastures and with the animals. Ames Rifle Club members have been down to help us out. And in particular, we have one college-age ecologist in training. He's been commuting from the north of Boston down to volunteer at Tufts Farm about 30 hours a week. He loves the place, he loves the animals, and he's great help. Marketing Tufts Farm and the open house at Tufts. We haven't taken any steps yet to market Tufts Farm, not on our website, not on our social media. We've been sort of waiting for the public parking lot to be available. We don't really want to drive attendance when there isn't a safe place for people to park and exit vehicles. But once that parking lot's up, we're eager to start promoting it, as you know from our plans here. And I want to take a moment to talk about how we've addressed some of the complaints that we've heard. So we've really received 2 different complaints. We've received a complaint on odor and we've received a complaint on noise. To address the odor complaint, we've been managing our manure in accordance with the Town of Easton Manure Management Plan. We take that seriously and have actively been managing that. Manure is gathered up weekly and it's properly composted at the farthest point from any neighbors in a location that was actually suggested by conservation and animal control. We keep a stockpile of wood chips on the property at all times. We use that to refresh the ground in the pens on a regular basis, at least weekly, but also after every heavy rain. Per the suggestion of this commission, we've begun liming the pens every 3 to 5 days, depending on rain. And that seems to have a positive impact. We looked into that. I think Al suggested that. We looked into that. We've used lime on the pastures for years, but never in close contact with the animals. We looked into that and learned that, yeah, you can actually feed it to your animals if you'd like. But we're using that in the pen just as a sweetener in the ground. Let's see here. We've also begun adding a little bit of straw on top of the wood chips when the ground's a little moist to add fresh wood chips. Now that the pasture has been rendered safer for the animals, these containment pens can be enlarged for next winter. And that's going to be a huge help to all of us. It's going to expand the area available to the sheep at all times. It's going to reduce accumulation in any one specific location, make that easier. Last, I want to note that to date, when an odor complaint has been received, we've immediately requested and received visits by town authorities within 3 business hours. To date, none have found any odor on the property at the time the complaints were received. The second complaint was a noise complaint. To address the noise complaint, there's really 2 drivers of noise from the animals. The animals are noisy when they're being fed grain once a day in the winter, and the animals are noisy when they're being harassed by humans who are mimicking lost lamb calls. To address the feeding issue, we've redesigned the feed parlor. It allows us to deliver the food to the animals a little faster. It's actually, they're yelling when they know that the grain is coming, but they don't quite have access to it. And the moment the gate is opened, it's absolute silence. So we've changed the way in and out of that feeding parlor. It makes it a little faster. We've cut down that noisy period by half, down to about 10 minutes a day. Second complaint, the second aspect of that, the criminal animal harassment. We're working with the Easton Police Department. They've identified multiple witnesses to the harassment, and they're investigating the criminal behavior. We don't expect this is going to be an ongoing issue with the noise. We think that's going to be resolved quite rapidly. Wanted just to offer a little summary of what we've gone over here. First, I just want to say we're thankful for the opportunity to partner with the commission. We're thankful for the opportunity to restore and improve this 200-year-old farm. It's exciting for us, and we're enjoying the work. We've put a lot of time in there, and we've spent a lot of money there, but we're really enjoying it. And it's personally, it's very rewarding and satisfying to see that farm come back. We appreciate the support we've received from the community. It's been great. And we're eager to begin utilizing the farmhouse as soon as that's repaired and available for occupancy. We're looking forward to continuing the work this summer and beyond. And just want to let you know the sheep really love it there. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Really comprehensive, great presentation. I'll address this more on our next agenda item, but I've been out a few times and I am very impressed with the operation you're running there. And having been to the site before your presence and now after, it is a completely different place.
Thank
you. We're looking forward to see the changes there to come.
Thank you.
Mike, Al, anything you want to add or questions here?
Dan, I 100% agree with Ben. Obviously, Dan, I had gone to that property quite a lot before you had gone there yourself, and the changes you've put in have been, I don't think even the town knows how much you've done in just a little bit of time, and the work that was actually there, the work that I even tried to do myself without the equipment that you have, it's crazy. And thank you for even bringing that to the table. It's been a huge help. So yeah, greatly appreciate you, Dan. It's been awesome. And I hike by there every day and see your property. It's cool to see the animals there, and they're thriving and they're doing great. So
thank you.
Yeah, a lot of good development there. I was just wondering, is there any way that you could, let's say, just casually work with the other neighbors and to see if there's a time that feeding could be administered so it wouldn't be as disruptive as we've possibly heard?
Sure. We'd accept feedback on that. There's medical reasons to feed your sheep, after 10 a.m. For their health. So, keeping with business hours, we typically feed them about noontime, thinking that that's a less disruptive time per day, but we're open to feedback on that. If there's a time between, 10 and noon, that's better, 10 and 2, something like that. The later you wait in the day, the louder the animals will be.
Okay.
So sometime after 10, before noon is great.
I wonder if there's any way that would you be able to briefly discuss that topic with some of the neighbors and see if they're amenable to the current time?
Sure.
I don't want to make a big thing out of it, but if just there's one way to work with them to.
Yeah. It's only about a 10-minute period, so we're happy to.
No, that sounds good.
Shift that if it makes a big difference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I guess our next order of business is the Tufts Farm complaint. So Dan, I'd like to ask you to just stay up here while I sort of introduce the item to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting any of the things that have been done between the complaints last meeting and now. And then I'll move you back into attendees. We'll take public comment to see how folks feel that, I guess, this issue's been addressed, if it has been addressed adequately, and other suggestions that they might have as to how we can address it moving forward. I was personally at the site, I think within 3 days, maybe a little bit more after the last meeting. It was a rainy, wet day. I was out there, I think early afternoon, and I think it had sort of all the conditions of being not a great day to visit a sheep farm. By the time I was there, Lyme had been implemented. It was pretty clear that they'd made an effort to, and I shouldn't say this because I wasn't there a week in advance, but it was pretty clear there was an effort to clean up. And within 100 feet of the pen, did not notice a noxious smell of any kind. Of course, when you're close to manure piles, standing distance, there is a smell. It's part of a farm. But there wasn't a noise or a smell component from what I could gather being there in that limited time. I returned to the farm probably a week ago, last week, with Mike, and found similar conditions, better weather, in fact, less of a smell at that point. But it's my understanding that since the last meeting, Lyme has been implemented. There is continued efforts to move sheep to their summer herding area. So I think, Dan, the flock has reduced there based upon your report. So I think last time you were here, it was 190 sheep, and now we're down to, was it 143? Mike's off.
Sorry about that. It's we're down to 142 now. The report of 199 was valid only the between Christmas and January 15th. Okay. Number's been far less since then.
So we're looking at continued reduction to the number of sheep that are there for the summer season. I think they'll be returning over the winter. Yes. But in that time, we're increasing the area that they'll be able to exist and live in, with the goal of bringing additional pastures online without substantially increasing the number of sheep at the farm. So I think all of this will have a positive impact on what neighbors are complaining about. And I think it sort of represents a very strong effort from the commission and the tenant to address some of these complaints. So with that frame of mind, I'm gonna ask Dan to go back into attendees, and I'd like to just address ongoing complaints and see if there's a constructive way to continue what I think has been a very productive dialogue. So Dan, I may in fact have to leave you up here. I'm trying to move you back to panelists, and
I can stop my video if it helps.
Jen, do you see a way to do that?
I can only put on hold or remove, so I'll try put on hold, but you might have to come back.
Okay. So let's.
Oh, I think that worked.
So it looks like Karen has her hand up. Bring it through.
I don't know how to put my camera on.
Karen, we can hear you, but we can't see you yet.
I don't have an option to turn my camera on.
Let me see.
But it's okay. I can talk about it.
Yeah.
It's okay. You guys have
So,
seen.
and I know you were here earlier, but would you mind just introduce yourself for the record and state your address?
Yeah, sure. Karen Maloof, and I live right next to Tufts Farm at 100 Canton Street. And first, I want to thank Dan. I know that you have made a lot of effort. We did notice a difference starting the day after our last meeting, so we appreciate that. I know that it's hard to do things quickly, and it's hard to do things anyways, but to do them quickly is we recognize that effort and we appreciate that. I just want to point out a couple discrepancies because we are living next to lots of sheep, hundreds of sheep, and none of you are, and neither is Dan. So we are living in this situation, and we are listening to you guys say that you're going to expand the area, which is a bit of a concern because I already think we have too many sheep for 2 acres. You guys said he rents, I think the lease says 3 acres with the potential to expand. I don't know the official number, but I know that it's anywhere between 2 and 10 sheep per acre when you're grazing. So there's not a good pasture there to have 200 sheep, which is why they're bringing in outside food and hay and things. But for me, that creates manure from an area that does not have pasture to sustain those sheep. So kind of like Keith said in the last meeting, it's like a storage facility. And that's a concern to me. Secondly, in the Tufts Farm master plan, it was studied in the soil, how many animals could be on that pasture. And it clearly mentions, I believe it's like 10 chickens and 5 goats. And in Mr. Finnegan's original proposal, which we did look at before we bought our house, because I like farmland. I don't like herds of animals, and there were no animals there, and we were not notified that they were coming in. I understand it was public knowledge, but I did physically go to the town hall and speak to people on more than one occasion. So what the plan said was presented by Mr. Finnegan himself, said 15 to 30 sheep. And I actually reread it because I thought, did I forget something? But it's actually on multiple pages. If you look at his proposal, it's on page 21, it's on page 20, and it's on page 23. And I'm just concerned that if we are not balancing the stocking density with the pasture that's there, and we just keep storing sheep there, even if the manure is taken away, other things come from that. Flies, mosquitoes, bugs, parasites go into the ground. And so there is wetland around there. And so I know that this committee spends a lot of time studying the ground and the wetlands. And I think if you put, I don't know, if it's 199 for 6 weeks or 142 for 8 weeks or whatever the numbers are, that's not what was said in the proposal. That's not what was said in the Tufts master plan. So I would like to encourage us to go back to the Tufts master plan and look at what was proposed and what was agreed upon and stick to that, because I think that's fair to Mr. Finnegan. He proposed 15 to 30 sheep. It's written in more than one place, and you guys agreed to that. But we are living with the repercussions of you guys not abiding by that.
Thank you, Ken. I was just trying to find the lease agreement.
I can actually read it to you if you want to know exactly what it says, because I took pictures of it because I was just wondering. I'm sure I didn't imagine that.
No, I'm quite sure that, and we can figure this out between now and next meeting too, but I'm quite sure I saw a proposal at Tufts Farms that contemplated 150 sheep. And I'm quite sure that that's what we spoke about across a handful of public meetings.
The one that you emailed me on page 20 of 43 says we winter approximately 30 to 40 breeding ewes each year. We expect to maintain 15 sheep on the Tufts farm at all times. In another area, it says our solar grazing season runs from April 1st to November 30th. Now today we hear that's been shifted, but it wasn't shifted 1 month each way. A month was cut off of each end of it, which means those of us who are living with the sheep right next to us and all of their defecation and everything that comes with it, they're not out at the solar panels, which was what was the proposal. That was that from April to end of November, they would be at the solar panels. And now it's April until, it's April, May to October. So we've cut an end off each end. So if you're going to say there's going to be 30 sheep on the farm during a period of the year when we don't go outside, and then you cut a month off of each end of our summer, it affects our life. It affects our lifestyle. And I understand that Mr. Finnegan thinks the sheep only make sound when they're being fed, but we live here. So it doesn't matter if you get on here and you say they only make noise when they're being fed. We live here. We hear them, we smell them. So he also says on his website that you can walk the trails there. And if I walk over there, there's actually a sign up that says it's monitored by cameras and it says no trespassing. So you can't say something and just because you say it, it's true. So in writing, in the proposal that you sent me, Ben, says 15 to 30 in the winter. If you have another piece of paper that you agreed to that says 150, that should be shared with the community.
Of course. No, I think it was the email that we had sent you. I just need to review it. I just was under the impression that the proposal had always been 150 sheep.
Oh, I think people wrote different things in the email, but I'm talking about the ones that have his signature on it.
I am as well. So I will review that between now and next meeting, and perhaps you and I can have a discussion offline.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any additional public comment? I see none. I think we should probably have a board discussion. I mean, one thought that I've had is maybe it would make sense to place some type of like a decibel reader on site to just address the ongoing noise so that we have an idea and a way to monitor it. Am I frozen? Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. And I'm open to additional plans, but I think we've made a lot of sort of, there's a, the hand looks like it went away, but Lucas popped up for a moment. But I think we've made a lot of progress towards addressing concerns, and I would like to continue working to address concerns, but I am happy with the progress that we've made, and I'd like input from other members of the commission.
Al?
I agree with Ben's comment. This is an ongoing situation. And I think that the noise, et cetera, will be spread out when the sheep have a larger area to graze on and less concentration closer to the road. So things are moving in the right direction. And then the reduction of the animals on site will be, within the next short period of time. So it's going to be reduced during the summer.
And maybe we could figure out a plan as we're sort of diving into Tufts and doing some work there to get the additional pasture opened up, which would reduce the amount of sheep in the area where I think they're maybe most problematic to neighbors. So I think those are things that the commission can do. I had intended to close public comment, but I didn't. And I see that there's a Lucas with a hand up. So I am going to allow them to make some comment here, and then we will move on.
Hey, good evening. Lucas Murphy, 137 Randall Street.
Thank you. How are you, Lucas?
I'm doing great. I just from my experience working in a factory, we had a significant painting operation. We're a large quantity generator of hazardous materials and all those things. And the DEP has guidelines for smell emissions, and there's certified sniff testers and things like that, actual people that, so there might be some guidelines for that. And, as for noise, I mean, businesses generally generate noise, and they're provided and a lot of time that they can do that. And, I respect everybody's, peace and tranquility, but at the same time, I think, it's pretty obvious that farm animals make noise. My neighbors have roosters that make noise all the time. So, but I think it's awesome having a farm there. And yes, I know I don't live next door to it, but I think there are some things that are associated with farms that people have to grow to accept.
Thank you, Lucas. Karen has her hand up again. Karen, I'm going to allow you to talk, but I would ask that you just keep it to new topics here and be brief.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it's a very good suggestion if we open the pasture that's farther back, because it kind of it allows us to continue have the farm operate, and it also minimizes the problems with safety if people want to take their dog and walk. I mean, I'm assuming if the sheep are there, there's going to be a dog protecting them at some point. And so if people do want to walk through the trail, if they want to go and see the sheep, they can. But maybe if they're in a different area, that it would be less disruptive. I understand that people say we have to adjust to farm things. That's true, yes. But I also think that we have to abide by what is proposed and agreed upon.
Thank you, Karen. All right, so I think I think that is. I don't know that I have anything else constructive to offer on Tufts Farms. I think that we've made some progress here. I think we have some plans to continue to make progress, and I think we'll all sort of work towards implementing them. And with that said, any other members of the commission have comments on this before we move on? All right, seeing none, let's move on to associate members' roles. So we'd had a conversation last week about the definition of associate members and working with a handful of people. I think who was interested, Jennifer? Was it just John Chase?
No, Chris Patrick.
I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. So it was Chris Patrick
And
John Chase, and I see Lucas is here, but I don't know that he's. Are you interested in being an associate member, Lucas? Is that why you're here? Or are you just watching? Hold on. I think we can hear you.
My phone is thinking about it. Here we go. No, I'm actually not interested in being an associate member.
Okay.
I'm more curious as to what goes on, and I think it's important that
you don't have to explain yourself as to why you're watching a public meeting either. I didn't intend that at all. I was just wondering if you were here for that or
nope,
observing.
Nope. But while I'm here, can you guys please take a hike down the Meadowbrook Conservation Area on Bay Road and just tell me, please? I'd love for some eyes. I emailed Jennifer about this over a year ago.
We added it to the project list.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I went down there. It's a disaster. I mean, there's 15 feet of road gone that's washed out.
I was over there too, Lucas. I mean, I've been monitoring as well as you. You're talking to Jen. It's definitely it's a big one. It's a big one.
That's a big one. And I think it's beavers, but that's
and I was kind of giving that a look as you said it. I'm not too sure if that's what it is, but it's definitely there's this immense amount of water rushing through it.
There's 3 18-inch concrete culverts that I cleared them, and then the debris just comes back in. There's something. I think it's more than just debris washing into the culverts. So, but anyways, I'm happy to help in any way I can. That's all I got for tonight. Anyways, I've got to get to bed, to be honest with you. So.
Nope, we added it per your suggestion. It's on our list to address.
Awesome. Great. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So I was happy with the actual definition that we did of associate member roles. And I don't have additional comments to that, which I think is what we're talking about today. Right. And nor do I think anyone who is interested in being a member had real comments to the writing of it. So do we need a vote to implement that as our definition? Adopt them. All right. Any board discussion about this? Committee discussion about this? All right. So motion to adopt the proposed definition of associate member roles.
Spady second.
Carol motion, Spady second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Spady,
aye. Next up is the conservation easement for 2 Chickadee.
Yeah, you just need to vote to approve it and then come in and sign it with your little wet signatures.
Sounds good. Motion to approve the conservation easement for 2 Chickadee Lane.
Second. Oops, sorry, Ben.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Spady,
aye.
Conservation.
When will that document be available, please?
When?
Yes.
Could be tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Conservation project list.
You guys wanted to put 3 or 4 items on each agenda just to go over, so I put them very quickly here. Tufts Farm repairs, We are reaching a settlement, just need to have signatures for the farmhouse repair. Open space plan survey, I sent you guys a draft. I'm hoping to have that ready for the meeting on, for the land trust pasture day on Saturday, so we can have people start filling that out. Al, can go ahead with the chestnut planting.
Yeah, Jennifer, a quick question on that. Any idea how much the insurance will cover toward the total estimated cost?
We have nothing in writing just yet, Al, so it's just a quick, we've reached a settlement. Once it's
All right.
signed, then we'll announce it.
Now, before you launch into this, I want to tell you that I've become slightly obsessed with your project, and I have some questions. Did we lose you, Al?
No, I'm here. Yep.
Okay, you want to give an update on the chestnuts?
Jennifer and I met with a gentleman who volunteered his expertise and willingness to donate some chestnut trees, small plantings, to the town of Easton Conservation Area or the town area. And I think Jennifer and I would like to work with him. Because of the timing, we'll probably go in the fall for the first planting, Jennifer. And if we get other suggestions from the commission, that would be great. But we'll do just probably one area. You have to plant 3 or more in a row or 3 or more in a grouping, so there's pollination. But between now and then, we should be able to pick a first site. I'm hopeful that we'll able, once that goes successfully, that we'll catch next year's planting season a little better, and maybe we can get some more plants from commercial sources as well as Dominic, and see if we can continue the planting as well next year in the spring. That's all I have, and I'm happy with any questions.
So I am very much enamored with the plight of the American chestnut now. And Al, you kind of inspired me to research it. And I am so surprised how hard it is to get these trees. And I understand why. Like, logistically, it makes sense why. But the fact that you can't, like, I'm looking at seed packs that are like $24 for a chestnut seed. Which now I'm interested in trying to germinate like a couple dozen of them. So Jennifer, will you help identify like legitimate sources of these seeds?
In the wild?
Well, let's talk to Dominic about that. He
There are
may
none.
have some ideas.
I think
Jennifer?
he's frozen.
How much did you guys miss of my rant?
No, we got it.
You want to know where to get them.
I would love it if
in
you'd
the
help me
wild,
identify.
they're virtually non-existent.
But there's a couple of nurseries that say they have them, right? And there's a couple of nurseries that say they have hybrid. And I don't want to be the dummy who buys a hybrid and it's just a Chinese chestnut that somebody sold me for 25 bucks a seed, which I could see happening.
Let us get back to you on that, but there may be some other sources that are reliable. The American chestnuts still suffers from the blight. So while they've worked on it for a number of years, there are chestnuts growing in the United States right now and producing very good crops from what I understand. These are hybrids, partial American, partial Chinese, partial European, that are productive and viable within this area, zone 6. So I wouldn't recommend planting too many American chestnuts unless you want to try to come up with a new hybrid on your own, which will happen over time if you mix an American chestnut with the hybrids. So you could conduct that experiment. We don't know where it'll go, but you're doing that all the time. Otherwise, you can use hybrids, which will, you need at least 2 to pollinate across. And so anyway, yeah.
If you haven't filled out the survey on the town hall landscaping project, then fill it out and add we'd like to see American chestnut and hybrid chestnut there.
Sold.
Yeah.
All
Or
right.
do you have that form? I'll fill it out if you want, Jennifer.
I think it was in the town crier.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry.
So meeting minutes.
I would like to make a motion to accept the March 25th, 2024 minutes as amended, and the March 25th, 2024 executive session minutes as presented.
Carol second, Benson motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Yeah.
Next up, chair updates. Reminder, NRT Festival is May 4th at Sheep's Pasture, 2 to 10 p.m.
10 to 2.
I've
And
got
they
a
Been a long day. It's been a long day.
I've got a couple quick items on the CPA.
Did I miss you? Sorry about that.
No, we
Please.
didn't know to put it on the agenda, but yes, go ahead, Al.
The CPA committee has asked that we start working, or at least become aware that we have to update the CPA plan for 5 years. As of October next year will be the publishing date. So by then we'll have available the CPA funding for 2025 in the May 2025 town meeting. So we can probably begin some work on that. I circulated a copy to Jennifer and to Ben so that they have the 20 version of it, see the generic layout. The exhibits are not available on the Word, but they are available on the PDF. So if we can start thinking about that, that'd be great. Also, by June 26th, the CPA first funding round has been requested to be provided to the planning department. So this is a simplified version. Basically, it's asked about the project estimated costs, the project manager, who can they coordinate with, and a one-page summary of the project as we envision it. So I think there's some things this year that we can take advantage of.
I'm in.
And should
Yeah, we have
start
at least
thinking-
2 projects.
Yes, okay. So that has to be done by June 26th to stay on the schedule. And that will be initially reviewed at the August 8th meeting of the CPC. So that's all I have on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Environmental planner updates. I know we're talking about the wetland reg comments, and I just have to say I read that letter. Unbelievable. Really good work, Jennifer. It feels like plagiarism for me to have my signature anywhere near that. So
You don't have
like,
to sign it, but the chair would sign it. But if you want me to do it, that's fine.
I am more than happy to sign it if it is at all helpful, but your name should be on that document and all over it, because thank you for doing that.
Yeah, a lot of good
And,
work.
and in particular, I felt that your comment about like, can we put together a committee of people who do this to review all of these coming into you? I hope that they're doing that without you having to tell them, but I know.
Maybe.
Thank you for taking the time, because those are one of those things that you just sort of brush it off and then you're stuck living with it after it's implemented.
Okay, good.
Did you want to add anything on that? Sorry.
I don't think so. We don't need a motion or anything. It's just, that's the letter from the commission. So, and it's just going to be an electronic signature anyway. I have to submit it online. So if you're good with that, we can say, okay. The only other thing I have is that Chris Patrick brought up maybe before the last meeting that the kiosk at Clifford Branch was down. Today, I got an email from a resident who would like to underwrite repairing that.
Fantastic.
And so, it just happened today. So the quick answer was, thank you so much for offering that. And then I'll get in touch with them and figure out how to coordinate with him and Chris, who sounded like he was willing to do that work.
Thank you.
A quick question, Jennifer. Should we think about using funds available to the commission before June? Is there any, should we go through and see what we need to earmark or allocate? Is there anything that would be?
No, because we don't really have a budget, actually. Our budget is part of the planning board. Everything else that we use is actually a revolving fund, so that's not held to needing to be spent by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question though. Otherwise, yeah, we'd be spending whatever we had.
All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Carol motion, Benson second. Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, aye.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Night.